Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling confused, guilty, and somehow responsible for a problem you didn't create? Have you ever found yourself apologizing when deep down you knew you did nothing wrong? If that sounds familiar, there's a reason. Narcissists rarely control people through force. They control people through words, carefully chosen phrases, repeated statements, psychological traps disguised as normal conversations. And the most dangerous part, most victims don't even realize it's happening until they're emotionally exhausted. Today we're exposing 10 of the most common things narcissists say to control you. Once you recognize these phrases, you'll never hear them the same way again. Number 1. You're too sensitive. At first, this sounds harmless, maybe even reasonable. After all, nobody wants to be seen as overly emotional. But that's exactly why narcissists use it. Imagine someone insults you, humiliates you, or crosses a clear boundary. You react naturally. You express hurt. Instead of taking responsibility, they immediately flip the focus onto you. Suddenly the problem isn't what they did. The problem is your reaction. This phrase is designed to make you question your emotions. Over time, you stop trusting your instincts. You start wondering if you're overreacting every time something feels wrong. That's the goal. A person who doesn't trust their own feelings becomes much easier to control. Number 2. That never happened. This is one of the most powerful manipulation tactics ever created. Psychologists call it gaslighting. You clearly remember an event. You remember the conversation. You remember the words. Yet they look directly into your eyes and deny reality. At first you argue. Then you explain. Then you defend your memory. But eventually something dangerous happens. You begin doubting yourself. You start asking questions like, maybe I remembered it wrong. That's when the narcissist gains power. Because once they can control your perception of reality, they can control almost everything else. The truth becomes whatever they decide it is. Number 3. Everyone agrees with me. Notice how they rarely name these people. It's always some mysterious group. Everyone says you're wrong. Everyone believes I'm right. Why? Because human beings naturally fear social rejection. We want acceptance. Narcissists exploit that instinct. They create the illusion that the entire world supports their position, even when no evidence exists. The goal isn't to prove they're right. The goal is to make you feel isolated. Because isolated people are easier to influence. If you believe everyone is against you, you'll be more likely to surrender your perspective and accept theirs. Number 4. After everything I've done for you. Few phrases generate guilt faster than this one. Suddenly, every favor becomes a debt. Every act of kindness becomes a weapon. Healthy relationships don't keep score. Genuine love doesn't require repayment. But narcissists often view relationships as transactions. They invest just enough to create leverage later. Then, when you set a boundary or disagree with them, they pull out the receipt. They remind you of everything they've supposedly sacrificed. The message is clear. You owe me. You are not allowed to challenge me. You are not allowed to leave. And you are certainly not allowed to prioritize yourself over me. Number 5. You're imagining things. This phrase is closely related to gaslighting, but it attacks something even deeper. Your intuition. Human beings possess an incredible ability to detect patterns. Sometimes you sense dishonesty before you can prove it. Sometimes your instincts tell you something is wrong. Narcissists understand this, so they attack the feeling itself. They convince you that your concerns are irrational. Your observations are exaggerated. Your instincts are flawed. Eventually, you stop listening to your inner voice, and when that happens, their influence grows stronger, because the strongest defense against manipulation is self-trust. Number 6. If you really love me, you would. This is emotional blackmail disguised as affection. Love should be freely given. It should never be used as a test. Yet narcissists constantly tie love to compliance. If you love me, you'd stay. If you love me, you'd agree. If you love me, you'd sacrifice your needs. Notice what's happening here. They redefine love as obedience. Suddenly, saying no becomes proof that you don't care. Setting boundaries becomes selfishness. Protecting yourself becomes betrayal. It's a trap designed to make you choose between your well-being and your relationship, and no healthy relationship should ever force that choice. Number 7. Nobody else would put up with you. This statement is not criticism, it's conditioning. The purpose is to destroy your confidence and increase your dependence. If they can convince you that you're difficult, damaged, or unlovable, you'll become afraid to leave. You'll start believing they're your only option. Think about how powerful that is. A person who believes they deserve better can walk away. A person who believes nobody else would want them often stays trapped. That's why narcissists attack self-esteem so aggressively. Confidence creates freedom. Insecurity creates control. Number 8, you're the problem. One of the defining traits of narcissism is an inability to accept responsibility. Accountability feels threatening because it challenges the image they've built of themselves. So whenever conflict appears, they need a target, and that target is usually you. No matter what happens, somehow the blame circles back to your behavior, your attitude, your reactions, or your flaws. Over time, this creates a toxic cycle. You spend all your energy trying to fix yourself while the real issues remain untouched. The narcissist stays comfortable, you stay exhausted, and nothing ever truly improves. Number 9, I was only joking. Have you ever noticed how cruel comments suddenly become jokes when they're challenged? A narcissist says something hurtful, you call it out. Instead of apologizing, they laugh. They accuse you of lacking a sense of humor. Once again, the focus shifts away from their behavior and onto your reaction. This tactic serves two purposes. First, it allows them to avoid responsibility. Second, it creates plausible deniability. If others witness the interaction, they can pretend it was harmless. Meanwhile, you are left questioning whether your pain is legitimate. But here's the truth. Genuine jokes don't require someone else's humiliation. Number 10, you'll regret this. This phrase often appears when control begins slipping away. Maybe you're setting boundaries. Maybe you're standing up for yourself. Maybe you're preparing to leave. Suddenly, the narcissist switches strategies. They move from guilt to fear. The message is simple. If you don't do what I want, something bad will happen. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's dramatic, but the goal remains the same. They want you to associate independence with danger, because fear is one of the strongest tools of manipulation. People who are afraid often stay where they are, even when where they are is hurting them. Now here's what makes these 10 phrases so dangerous. Individually, they may seem insignificant. Almost anyone can say them occasionally. But narcissistic control isn't about a single sentence. It's about patterns, repetition, consistency. These phrases work together like pieces of a puzzle. One attacks your confidence, another attacks your memory, another attacks your emotions, another attacks your independence. Eventually, you begin losing trust in yourself. And when self-trust disappears, manipulation becomes much easier. The good news is that awareness changes everything. The moment you recognize these tactics, their power starts to weaken. You stop defending yourself against false accusations. You stop arguing with distorted realities. You stop carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. Most importantly, you start reconnecting with your own judgment, your own instincts, your own voice. Remember this: healthy people communicate to understand. Narcissists often communicate to control. Healthy people respect boundaries. Narcissists often see boundaries as threats. Healthy people take responsibility when they're wrong. Narcissists frequently search for ways to avoid it. If you've heard these phrases repeatedly, don't ignore the pattern. Pay attention. Trust what you observe. Trust what you feel. And trust the evidence in front of you. Because one of the greatest victories over manipulation is learning that your reality doesn't need someone else's permission to be valid. And here's the most important thing to remember. You are not difficult for wanting respect. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are not sensitive for expecting kindness. And you are not wrong for protecting your peace. The moment you stop seeking validation from the person trying to control you is often the moment you begin taking your power back. If this list opened your eyes to behaviors you've experienced, don't keep the knowledge to yourself. Someone else may be trapped in the same cycle right now, wondering why they constantly feel confused, guilty, or emotionally drained. Sometimes recognizing the pattern is the first step toward breaking free from it. And once you can see the game, you no longer have to play it.